A Republican group in Idaho has invited Kyle Rittenhouse to speak at their annual gala, or gala, depending on how you like to call it. It happened last weekend, and more alarmingly, they decided to auction off tickets to what they named Trigger Time with Kyle Rittenhouse. What is that, you may ask? Well, here's a bit of a refresher on Kyle Rittenhouse first, so you understand. There's the ad for what they were doing. But nonetheless, Kyle Rittenhouse, for those of you who were living under a rock and completely missed the story, ended up shooting and killing 2 protesters at a Black Lives Matter protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin nearly 3 years ago when he was just 17 years old. So since then, he's been hailed as a hero by the right wing. He did stand trial for the 2 killings, and he was acquitted of murder charges because his self-defense argument was convincing for the jury. Now, the Bonneville County Republican Central Committee in Idaho featured Rittenhouse as the main attraction and keynote speaker at their Lincoln Day Gala. It was at the gala where they auctioned tickets for people to go shooting with Kyle the following morning. Okay, so now we can take a look at this flyer that they were passing around. Exclusive event, Trigger Time with Kyle Rittenhouse. Only 30 people are lucky enough to do this, John. They get range time, autographs, photos, rifles, rounds, refreshments. Sounds like a lot of fun for people who, for some reason, think that a guy who killed 2 people should be a celebrity that they go shooting with. Now, there was also a Ruger AR 556 photographed, or autographed, I should say, by Kyle Rittenhouse, and a painted red, white, and blue. It was painted red, white, and blue, and it started with a floor bid of just $3,000. So that's what they auctioned off. I'm gonna stop for comment.
I think that it's a good use of their money. I mean, we should probably bear in mind that anyone who would be bidding on this probably already owns like 30 of those guns, but why not spend way more for one with a garish, embarrassing paint job and a signature of someone that you're not even gonna remember exists in a few years? I think that's a good use of your money. That's an investment, really.
I disagree with you.
I always lose all of my money in investments though, so bear that in mind, but I think it's a good investment.
You have money to invest?
I'm kidding.
Surprising.
Only in guns. No, it's a complete and utter waste of money. I know why they want that. I know why they think they want to do this. These 30 people with more money, rage, and fear of anyone unlike them than they have sense. What do you think that time is going to be like with him? Do you think the fact that he killed people makes him interesting?
Okay, so
look at his face. We know exactly what his personality is. His personality is a guy who only becomes notable when he kills people. That's it. It's not a fun conversation with this guy. The time is gonna suck and you're gonna be out the money. That's gonna be it.
And the fact that they're auctioning off, or they have already auctioned off, because this event happened already, an assault style weapon, which, keep in mind, Kyle Rittenhouse used an AR-15 to gun down the 2 protesters. It's just, look, the issue that I have with this, this is a Republican event. It doesn't surprise me that they're auctioning off guns and they're auctioning off like shooting events. This is what they like. It's part of their culture. I don't agree with fetishizing guns the way they do, but the thing that I find incredibly frustrating about this situation is, look, you can say that in your mind, Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong because he legitimately defended himself. It's what he had to do. But taking people's lives, even in the situation where you're defending yourself, is awful, right? Like 2 people died. That's not something to celebrate. And the problem that I have is making Kyle Rittenhouse like a celebrity over what he did, rather than framing it as, it sucks that he felt the need to do that. It sucks that he did it. It sucks that 2 people are dead. It is what it is, but let's not celebrate this as if it's like a wonderful thing. But they celebrate it as if it's a wonderful thing. 2 people are dead.
Yeah, it sucks that he made a series of intentional decisions that put him in that position to do that thing that clearly he did not have that much of a problem with doing. All of that absolutely sucks. How much, I guess he's being treated as a hero, kind of, for a little bit or whatever. I don't know how much regular conservatives give a damn about him. I know why Republican elites would want to push him as a hero on other people. They want regular conservatives to not notice that they keep falling behind more and more and more every year economically, and instead just distract themselves with the idea that someday they might be lucky enough to be in a position to get away with killing people. I get why they would want to do that. And for Kyle Rittenhouse, he probably knows deep down in his heart that this is the only way that he'll ever be exceptional. So why not take these speaking opportunities? He knows that if and when they eventually cast him aside for someone else who commits a massacre, that he's gonna have absolutely nothing. He's not gonna be able to get honest work. He's not gonna be qualified for much of the honest work anyway. So all of them are kind of desperate for this to work and to hold it out as long as they can.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And look, I don't begrudge Kyle Rittenhouse for taking the money, right? Whatever they might pay him to be part of this, I don't begrudge him for it. I mean, he's still incredibly young, and the positive treatment he's gotten from the right wing after gunning down 2 people, it just sends the wrong message to someone who's still incredibly young. It reminds me a little of what happened with George Zimmerman after he killed Trayvon Martin, right? Because he was treated as a celebrity.
Well, his life turned out great.
I mean, it didn't, but he then proceeded to get involved in all sorts of domestic violence. I mean, we covered more follow-up stories about him after the fact. And it's when you're telling people who commit acts of violence that it's okay and that they should be celebrated as heroes for what they did, very likely that they're gonna carry out more violence. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, they wouldn't want that. They wouldn't want more Perrys down in Texas. They wouldn't want more people gunning down teenagers who accidentally ring their doorbell. They wouldn't want any of that. That's not what all of this is about. Yeah. This is not about spending time with a celebrity because he's not a celebrity. Kyle Rittenhouse doesn't want to spend time with Kyle Rittenhouse. This is about putting them in proximity to someone who's lived out their fantasy. The fantasy of killing people who they disagree with. That's what it is. But honestly, it's a pretty piss poor version of the fantasy. The fantasy isn't to go to a gun range. They could do that anytime they want. They're rich, they could do that. The fantasy is to kill or be killed. And so honestly, for this to be a satisfying recreation of why they know who he is in the first place, it would only make sense if he ended up shooting them or they ended up shooting him. One of those 2 things would make it a fitting tribute to why they care about Kyle Rittenhouse. Instead, they're gonna drink a couple of non-Bud Light beers, shoot some rounds, realize that their souls are empty, and then they're gonna go back to their unhappy lives.
So
thanks for the $3,000, you moron.
We're gonna end on this because, as I mentioned, Rittenhouse was like a keynote speaker at the gala. And so,
I bet it was a great speech too.
Well, you're about to see because he was asked to reflect on, his past and how he feels about gun control proposals today. Let's hear what he had to say.
If you could go back, is there anything you would have done differently during that whole Kenosha episode?
If I would have known what would have happened, if I would have known I would have been ambushed, chased down, had guns pointed in my face, and then put on trial for defending my life, I wouldn't have gone. I would have stayed home. But that does not change the fact that I was violently and viciously attacked by a mob of rioters.
What is your basic message to others about the Second Amendment, especially as it pertains to the right of self-defense?
Bad guys are gonna still get guns. We aren't gonna have this whole thing where gun control is gonna work. Look at Chicago, look at New York, look at Los Angeles. The statistics are there. Criminals are gonna get guns and they're gonna commit crimes. It's not gonna lower the unfortunate school shootings. It's not gonna stop these bad, mentally ill, disturbed individuals from causing harm to others. What will is a good guy with a gun.
Except there were good guys with guns on multiple school campuses as school shootings were taking place, and they were not able to stop the shooter. In fact, Uvalde is a perfect example where you have literally dozens of law enforcement officials there, heavily armed. They weren't able to stop the shooter. In fact, their cowardice is now incredibly notorious. And finally, it's such a weak argument in my mind to say like bad guys are gonna get their hands on guns anyway. Okay, people are gonna drive under the influence of drugs and alcohol anyway, so should we just do away with any regulation pertaining to drunk driving or driving?
People are gonna get abortions anyway.
It's just such a dumb, and it's a dumb argument. I'm just gonna call it what it is. But more importantly, Maybe the bad guys are getting their hands on the gun so easily because it's so easy to buy a gun without a background check. I mean,
yeah, it's an argument that doesn't make sense in our context. And the second you think about any country that actually has gun control, it makes even less sense. Most of these, many countries, many incredibly successful countries, you can't get access to these guns. So why don't the criminals who are just gonna get the guns anyway run wild? They don't, because you can't get the guns, you idiot. That's what. His idea about there always needing to be a good guy with a gun. Imagine if there had been a responsible good guy with a gun in Kenosha, maybe one of those many cops nearby. They could have done something about the fact that there was an idiot running around with an AR-15 killing people. They could have solved that situation. It's too bad that in that case there wasn't a good guy with a gun. And having him speak there really fast, delivering the exact same stupid debunked points as we've heard 1,000 times before, only at a lower grade level and a lower energy level. If you want that, then waste your money and hire Leave It to Beaver.
Well, they did. So, congratulations.
They are so desperate for a hero. This is what they've got.
Yep, doesn't speak so well of them, but here we are.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.